Hello everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I'm going to talk about all the shows and movies that I watched this summer. So I'm going to cover June, July, and August. So as well as being an avid book reader, I am also an avid cinema watcher. I love TV, I love movies, and honestly, if I could go back in time, I would probably go to film school because I just love movies and film that much. And I love cinematography, but that is besides the point. So some of these are popular, some of them are less popular. For the popular ones, I don't think I need to tell you what they're about or go into much detail. For the newer ones or the less popular ones, I probably will talk more in detail what they're about. So in June, I managed to read 6 things, and the first thing I watched was Jurassic Park. Now, this is a very classic movie. This is the first book in the entire Jurassic Park world. One day it was randomly on TV, and if Jurassic Park is going to be on my TV, you bet I'm going to sit down and watch it. This is probably my favorite in the Jurassic Park world, and it is arguably the best one. A lot of critics and just fans in general say that this is their favorite and the only good one. I disagree, but yes, it might be my favorite. I love these movies, especially this one, so much. Jurassic Park is actually one of my childhood movies. I didn't grow up on Disney movies. I grew up more so watching action and fantasy movies, and this is one of those movies from my childhood, and it still holds up, and I still really enjoy it. The next show I watched was The Floor is Lava Season 2. So I have been watching Floor is Lava on Netflix since it came out, basically. It is kind of one of my comedy relief, stress relief shows. I first watched it in a very stressful time in my life, so now every time it comes on, I watch it and I recognize how dumb it is, but I also recognize that if given the opportunity, I would play this game. If you don't know, Floor is Lava is a show on Netflix where basically people join teams and play The Floor is Lava, and they play for money, and there's obstacle courses, and it looks like a giant room with lava, and I just really love it. It is so dumb, but I have a great time watching it. And yes, season 2 came out this summer, so I watched it on a road trip and had a great time. The next show I watch is also a new show, and it is on Apple TV, and that is Severance. So I watched season 1 in June, and Severance is kind of set in a dystopian world where people have figured out the solution to a work-life balance. So people can go in and get this operation, and they can basically be severed, where when they enter work, they have a work person, and when they leave work, they have an outside person, whereas their life person. And the work person and their outside person do not know each other. They have no idea what goes on during the day at work, and the work person has no idea what goes on at home or what their life is like. So we follow this man who, his wife recently passed away, and because she passed away, he wants to have this severance procedure so he can go into work and have no idea about his deceased wife. So this show, I have an unpopular opinion because it is very highly praised and critically acclaimed, and I thought it was one of the most boring shows I've ever seen. It was so boring, but it was also filmed really beautifully. The inside shots when they are at work, they're innie, it was really incredible. I loved the office scenes because you barely see any people, and I just love scenes like that where you only have 4 or 5 characters in the show. But the outie scenes are on the complete opposite, which really shows you the dynamic between being severed. I will say that although the show was one of the most boring shows I've ever seen, the finale to season 1 was one of the most incredible finales I've ever seen. It was so fast-paced, so intense, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, whereas throughout the entire show, I could have slept, woken up, and known exactly what was going on. But the finale was everything I was hoping the entire show would be, so I definitely do plan on watching season 2, and I really hope that it's more intense, just like the finale was. So the next 3 films are all movies that I watched when I was flying to South Africa. I had about a 14-hour flight on the way there, so I managed to watch 3 movies. So the first movie I watched on the plane was The Lost City. Now this has Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, and I had been wanting to watch it since I first saw the trailers. So Sandra Bullock is actually a romance novelist, and Channing Tatum is actually her cover model for her romance novels. And they get swept up in a kidnapping adventure where they get lost in a jungle. and I thought this was so funny. I had such a great time, and I am one of those people that I am not like a huge Channing Tatum fan, but this movie made me a Channing Tatum fan. He was so great in it, and of course Sandra Bullock was great in it as well. I loved this movie so much. It was funny, it was action-packed and adventure-filled. Daniel Radcliffe is also in this movie, and Daniel Radcliffe, you can't go wrong with him. He is so funny, and I love that he's taken on these like weirder roles throughout his career. But yes, I had a great time with this one. The next movie I watched was Uncharted, which has Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, which is an iconic duo that I am completely obsessed with. So we follow Nathan Drake, who is played by Tom Holland, and he is approached by Mark Wahlberg's character to go and hunt down Magellan's 500-year-old treasure. So this is kind of like a treasure action adventure movie, and once again, I am obsessed with those. Like, think National Treasure, that type of vibe. Absolutely loved it. I had so much fun. Once again, Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, I want to see them in more movies together because they did so well together and I love them too so much. So putting them together was a genius move, and whoever thought of it, I just want to thank you sincerely. But I had a great time with this. It's funny, the action was great, and I just love treasure hunting. Loved it so much. So the last movie I watched in June and the last movie I watched on the plane was The Outfit. Now this is a very strange movie, but it is so well done. So Dylan O'Brien and Zoe Deutsch are actually both in this movie, and we follow a world-renowned cutter, and basically a cutter is like a soup maker, and he has to tangle with a group of mobsters to survive one fateful night. So this movie takes place over the course of one night, and I love movies like that. I think if you can do so much within just a few hours in a movie, you are doing your job right. I just really loved it. Also, the setting for this movie took place in one building. So basically like 2 rooms in one building. And also, once again, if you can do an entire movie where it is set in one place the entire time, you're doing something right if it is good. And this one was really good. And also, like I mentioned earlier, I love movies and shows where you barely see anyone and there's only a handful of characters. And this movie only had about 5 characters in it that we see the entire time. And it was done so well. I will admit there are like a little bit of boring parts or parts that lag, parts that I was like, okay, where is this going? But at the end, when everything comes together, I am getting goosebumps just talking about it, because it is one of those things where everything, when it is revealed and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is genius. This is genius. Like, this movie was straight up genius. Alright, moving on to July, I watched 13 things. So my last few days in South Africa, I decided to go to the movie theaters by myself, and I had a great time. And the first movie I watched there was Jurassic World Dominion. And now this is the new Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movie, where you have the people from Jurassic Park and the people from Jurassic World, and they come together in one movie. And this movie was kind of terrible. I'm gonna be honest, it was really bad. But if you are such a fan of the original movies, this one was so nostalgic that I still had a great time. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, I recognize that this is bad, but I love it. Just because we get to see the original actors, and there are so many homages to the original series. Like, they would do something or say something or a scene would occur and I'd be like, that happened in movie number 1, that happened in movie number 2, that one was in the 3rd movie. And I loved those little homages to that so much. I also think Jeff Goldblum is just a dime. He has a dime a dozen and I love him. But yes, would I recommend this movie? I don't know. Maybe if you're an intense fan of the originals like I am, and also if you can recognize that it's bad, but just you know, sit back and relax and enjoy, you know? And the next movie I watched in the theaters was Men. Now, this is an A24 horror movie, and I am discovering that I hate A24 movies. This, I can't even tell you what it's about because I have no idea. Genuinely, there were 5 people in the theater, and when this movie was over, we are all strangers. We all turned to each other, and we were like, what the heck was that? Like, genuinely, what did we just watch? Because I have no idea. This was disgusting, it was confusing, it was weird. I have no idea. Would I recommend? Absolutely not. And I don't know if I'll watch an A24 movie again, because I've watched a few and I hate them every time. So the next 6 movies are all the movies that I watched on the plane back from South Africa, and the first one was The Imitation Game, and this stars Benedict Cumberbatch. I've wanted to watch this for so long, and I finally got to it. So this is based on a true story set in World War II, and we follow mathematician genius Alan Turing as he goes and tries to break the Enigma code from the Germans and basically save the world. I love movies based on true stories. If it is a true story, I'm probably going to cry and I'm probably going to love it, especially because this one is so important because Alan Turing's story was kind of hidden and destroyed because he was gay and they arrested him and it was illegal back then, and so now he is getting his story told and it is very emotional and it is very good. And Benedict Cumberbatch, he's so talented. He is amazing and he plays this part so well. Nobody else could have played it like him. He is truly the only man for this job, and I just really loved it and I highly recommend it. The next movie I watched was The Sixth Sense, and this movie changed my life. I'm not kidding. I was a different person before I watched this movie, and then a different person after I watched this movie. It is a very popular movie, so I really don't think I need to tell you what it's about. It's like a horror, suspense, M. Night Shyamalan type of movie, and I don't know why I never watched it. And I will tell you, I knew what was gonna happen. I had been spoiled for this movie, and I was okay with it because I didn't think I would watch it, and it still had such an impact on me. Like, imagine how I would have felt if I had no idea what was gonna happen. I love this movie so much. It is genius. Haley Joel Osment is incredible. He is the cutest little boy in the entire world, and if you haven't watched it, seriously go watch it because it'll change you. Like, this was beautiful. If you're a film fan, it'll change you. I loved it. The next movie I watched was Jaws, and I only got about halfway through because, unpopular opinion, and this is kind of sacrilegious in the film community, this was terrible. Like, Jaws is so boring. Honestly, I know saying this next part could be a little controversial, but I think it would do so well with a modern day remake because I think they could dive more into the horror and make it more suspenseful and just gory, you know? But this was so boring, and I just could not make it all the way through because, I'm sorry, it was not good. I'm sorry. So after that, I really wanted to watch some animated films because I was a little fed up after Jaws, so I watched Frozen 2, and I had never seen it, even though I love Frozen 1, and Frozen 2 was so good, and in my opinion, it might be better than the first one, and I love the first one, but Frozen 2 was so good. I loved that we got to see, like, the fall and be in a different location and see all the magic, and it was wonderful. The songs were great, and I cried. Why do I cry so much? I don't know, but I did. Another animated movie I cried in was Sing 2. Now this one was not as good as the first one, and it did lag a little bit and I was a little bit bored, but as they start their performance, I just started crying. Like, who do I think I am? I just started crying, and I got the chills, and I just was so happy for these little animated animals. I just loved it, I really did. And next I watched Sleepy Hollow, and this is the movie with Johnny Depp. Now this movie, how do I explain? So the vibes, the atmosphere, immaculate. Like, spooky season, here we come. I loved the atmosphere in this movie, and Johnny Depp is so beautiful to look at. So Johnny Depp has been my favorite actor since I was like a wee little girl, and I had never watched this one. I know, I cannot believe it, but this might be his best looking movie because I could not stop staring at him. So although I didn't have a super great time watching this movie, I had a great time watching Johnny Depp. This movie was great, and honestly, like I said, a little not great at the same time because it was very dramatized. Like, Johnny Depp's character is such a little weenie and he is so dramatic, but like, honestly, same. I actually was really surprised with how like much gore was in this movie because the Headless Horseman chops people's heads off and you like see it fully, like full on chop the head off, and I really enjoyed that. But like I said, this almost felt like a satire, and I'm not like a big satire fan, but I did love it regardless. But it is definitely not my favorite, and I don't know if I would watch it again. If I do, it'll definitely be just to watch Johnny Depp. So that was the last movie I watched on the plane. The next thing that I watched was One Shot Agent Carter. So this is like one of those little short one-shot things on Disney Plus that are often at the end of Marvel movies. So I am currently watching all of the Marvel movies in timeline order, which is very time consuming. It takes a long time. So earlier this year, I watched Captain America, which is the first one. So I'm currently making my way through all the Agent Carter stuff, which I will speak on in a little bit. But yes, I watched this one shot first because that's what the timeline told me to do. So after that, I finished Agent Carter Season 1. And let me tell you, Peggy Carter is the best Marvel character. Like, I just genuinely did not know how much I needed her in my life. Like, she is incredible. She is so powerful, so strong. She is lovable, she is funny, and she is beautiful, and I just love her so much. On the other side of that, Jarvis, the second best Marvel character, like, we all know and love Jarvis from Iron Man, but the actual human being Jarvis, iconic. Truly iconic. I love him so much, and the actors that play Agent Carter and Jarvis, incredible. Honestly, what I really need in my life is the actor who plays Jarvis and Benedict Cumberbatch to play brothers. Like, somebody get that going. I don't care what the story is, have them be brothers. That is what I need. The next two movies I'm going to talk about at the same time because they go together, and that is The Hunger Games and Catching Fire. My sister had never seen these, and so she decided to watch them one night, and once again, if they are on my TV, I'm going to sit down and watch them. The Hunger Games is my favorite story, and once again, love these so much. I think Catching Fire is actually my favorite. It is my favorite book in the series, and it is probably my favorite movie. The idea of the clock just gets me every time. Like, genius. So genius. And the last thing that I watched in July, I really don't need to talk about because I already did. And that is The Sixth Sense. Yes, I watched it again. Like I said, it changed my life. And I needed to show my sister. So we watched it as a family. Iconic. So moving on to August, I watched 7 things. And the first thing I watched was Signs. Another M. Night Shyamalan movie. Because we watched The Sixth Sense and my sister had never seen Signs. And like I said, I had a weird childhood with movies and TV shows because Signs is one of my childhood movies. I didn't want to be a princess. I wanted to kill aliens, apparently. I love this movie. It is so spooky in all the best ways. Just the way M. Night Shyamalan does things, he is truly a genius. He honestly might be my favorite director because everything he does is so good. And the next thing I watched was Survivor South Africa Season 1. I recently started watching the South African version, although where I was watching it has now since disappeared, so I don't know if I can continue. But Season 1 was not happy with the winner. This season was so boring. Like, it was not a good season. So boring. So after that, I watched Season 2 of Survivor South Africa. And I, once again, was not, like, thrilled with the winner. I was okay with it, but it wasn't my choice. And this, once again, season was just kind of boring. The challenges so far that I have seen in Survivor South Africa are just very lame and very early 2000s Survivor. So I'm interested to see if they develop like American Survivor did because it's just kind of boring. Next, I watched Junior Baking Show, which is also Junior Bake Off, Season 6, because Netflix uploaded Season 6, and I don't know why Season 1 through 5 is not on Netflix, but I desperately need it to be, because Bake Off is one of my favorite things in existence. I love the person that I am when I watch Bake Off, and so now, watching kids do Bake Off, I cried. Like, oh, what do you expect? I cried. The kids are so cute. I just am so proud of all of them, truly. And next, I watched Season 4 of Glow Up. This is another Netflix show, but this is a makeup competition show. I've been keeping up with Glow Up for a few years. This is another one of my stress reliever shows that I first watched when I was stressed, and now I just keep up with it. And Season 4 just came out. I really, really loved it. I was pretty happy with the winner, but my favorite person got second. So I was like, we were so close, so close. But the artistry that these makeup artists have is incredible, and the things they come up with, amazing. The next movie I watched was Stand and Deliver, which is an 80s film, and I love 80s movies, and this is such a good movie. So we follow a high school teacher, and this is based on a true story, who moves to this high school where all the students are very prone to dropping out because they live in a very low income community, and so he goes there with the mission to teach them calculus. I'm not a math person, but this movie made me want to be one. You know, I loved it so much, and this has Lou Diamond Phillips in it, and honestly, he's amazing. Like, he looks good now, but in the 80s, oh my gosh, like, heartthrob, literally. Yes, I love this one. I cry every time. I think it's beautiful. I think it's really well done, and once again, I love movies based on true stories. And the last thing I watched was a Christmas movie. Of course. I mean, is it too soon? not for me. So I watched The Holiday Calendar on Netflix. This is one of my favorite Christmas movies and I watch it every year. My sister hadn't watched it and we were just scrolling through all the streaming services, couldn't figure out what to watch, and we picked The Holiday Calendar. So this follows Kat Graham from The Vampire Diaries. She plays Bonnie and I really, really love her. So it follows her character and she receives an advent calendar from her grandpa, and the advent calendar has maybe some magical abilities. This is a Christmas rom-com. Loved it. It is so great. I get like teary every time. I love the characters and of course I love Kat Graham. So those are all the things that I watched this summer. That was a lot. Let me know if you are also into movies and TV shows, and also let me know what your favorite TV show is, because I am really good at watching TV shows, but I'm really bad at starting them. So you need to tell me what to watch, because I have a list for miles, but I need to know what I have to start now, you know? Let me know. If you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave like the TV emoji, the old school TV. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!